Who's the most to blame for their recent struggles?
Brad Stevens.
Really?
Yeah. Brad Stevens is an exceptional coach, and we've praised him ad nauseum over the last 4 years. They've improved every year under him, and I believe in him. It's no big deal. I'm just answering the question in the moment.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum doesn't look the same. Jaylen Brown doesn't look the same. Team chemistry doesn't look the same. I think it has a lot to do with Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens recognizing the need, the importance to get Gordon Hayward reinserted into things. That nasty injury that he suffered 5 minutes into his career as a Boston Celtic. He's, limited to 25 minutes per game. He can play. But obviously, he's got a long ways to go to get back to what he once was. And I think trying and being committed to getting him back in things has compromised the others and their performance. That's Brad Stevens' job to alleviate that. And so far, he has not. And I think that right now, as a result of it, it wouldn't be as bad for Boston if Toronto wasn't so good.
Yeah.
But because Toronto is so good,
Milwaukee too.
And Milwaukee is on the come up, and Philly acquired Butler, you don't want to find yourself in a situation, for example, hypothetically speaking, suddenly you're a 4th seed instead of a 2 seed. Yeah. Because what happens is you're talking about yourself not having home court advantage for 2 rounds of the playoffs, the divisional playoffs and potentially a conference championship. You don't want to find yourself in that position if you're any team in the Eastern Conference, particularly the Boston Celtics right now. I think that's what they're going through. The Gordon Hayward factor is a big deal, who played for Brad Stevens in college. And not to say that he wouldn't do this for anybody, Max, because he's a great coach and he would try to help you along and get you back if you're a vital component of a team. But I do think it's safe to say he has a special level of personal affection for a Gordon Hayward. And I think that assists in him trying to help him along and potentially compromising guys more than he normally would, per se. And I think that's what we're witnessing.
A friend and colleague who's, let's say, close to the team or observes the team very closely, was talking to him about it the other day and said that, look, the problem really is Brad Stevens trying to keep everybody happy. And Gordon Hayward's passing very valuable to the starters, and Brown needed to go to the bench. But that didn't happen right away, and so now it's an issue, and they have time to work it out.
Okay.
So I don't disagree with you on the kind of like X's and O's of it all, Stephen A. But I disagree with you in a larger sense.
Okay.
This is Kyrie Irving's team. We know, Kyrie, that you can score 40 on any given night on anyone. Kyrie, we know that with the fate of the universe on the line, you can be the hero. You can get a team over the top. You can hit the big shot, make the big play. We know that. We've seen it.
Okay.
The question for Kyrie, and the reason he wanted his own team, right, is can he demonstrate, can he lead a group of guys to the promised land? That's what it's really about. That's what Kobe needed to prove without Shaq, and he did. Pau Gasol's a future Hall of Famer. But I wouldn't say that Lakers team that Kobe led was one of these versions of these super teams that we see nowadays. Kobe led a group of guys to the promised land without Shaq a couple times. Went to 3 straight and won 2. Kyrie, who obviously models himself in many ways after Kobe and has the same Mamba mentality and everything. That's why. Why does someone want to go get their own team? Well, that's part of it. Can you do that? And right now, he's not doing it. He has time to figure it out. I'm not saying he can't do it, but that's who it's going to fall on. Whatever the X's and O's, whatever the head coach's culpability, all those things are responsibility. History will record that Kyrie Irving went to the Celtics. It was his team. He was the best player on the team, and he either could or couldn't lead those guys to at least the finals, past the conference finals.
Here's my problem with what you're stating. If we weren't talking a health issue and it was basketball and it was a bunch of guys that were accustomed to playing together, that included Kyrie, I get your point. Kyrie Irving missed 22 games last year because of his injury. okay, which included the playoffs. So he was coming back from his own. Plus, you got Gordon Hayward coming back from his own injury. You have Brad Stevens, who's the coach. All I'm saying to you is this. It's wrong at this juncture. I'm not talking about period, because if this were March and we're having this discussion, I have nothing to say to you. You're right. But it's November. And when you're talking about the beginning of a season, it's unfair, in my opinion, at this particular moment to look at Kyrie Irving more than Brad Stevens because of what you're trying to ingratiate.
I told you, the X's and O's, we don't disagree. I think there's
I'm just saying at the time of the we ingratiate
but even
players
then,
together.
These are first world problems. Oh, the team that went to the conference finals last year needs to reintegrate the best point guard in the conference and another all-star. That's a problem.
Listen, I thought you guys would have went Hayward. Max contract, demoted to reserve.
No, he's because of the
And he's
nastiness
not
of the injury.
100% healthy.
He's just coming back.
Hayward's not one of the two best
healthy.
players on the team at his best.
But it's not. But it's not just him. It's other guys that are not doing it. And I think his presence has an impact on that.